I'm back once again, like the Renegade Master. Don't know why I said that. Hopefully it's not going to be as long since my last video. Hopefully everyone's had a great Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, then I hope you had a happy holiday period with your family and a great new year. May 2021 be a better year than 2020, and may all your plans come true. That made no sense. My plans for 2021 in regards to my videos is to release at least 2 a month, as I've got a full-time job and a part-time job which is currently on furlough. And I'm doing a podcast with my friend, so quick plug. Me and my friend CY started a podcast called Trip Around the Multiverse, where we talk about all things pop culture related, like comics, wrestling, movies, animes, TV shows, life experience, video games, and so forth. On Mondays and Thursdays, and can be found on all podcasting platforms like Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, what have you. And we even got videos on YouTube. So after this, I put an annotation. So after this, you can go and follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our podcasts, and have all the great funs that we love. Now, all the self-promotions out the way. I'd like to thank my friend Sam once again for the idea for these videos, who's also my harshest critic and the one who's not making me do these, but the driving force behind me doing these. He's always on my back, pushing me to do it, so I'm doing it. But it's all love. Anyways, now back to the main reason of this video, to talk about Fatal Fury 2, Even More Fury. And is it as good as the one that came before it? Who knows? Well, we'll know at the end of this video. Now, let me give you a brief history about the game and the time period it came from. 1992. So, this game came out in 1992, the same year as Art of Fighting. So, I'm not gonna do a long section about films and movies that came out that year, as I've already done it before. And if I want to be super lazy, I could just splice footage from the last video, but I won't. So I will add some new footage and just go over a few other things that came out in that year. So I'm going to quick fire some games and films that came out that year, like Universal Soldier, Unforgiven, Of Mice and Men, one of my personal favourite films and books, OG Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the one without Sarah Michelle Gellar, actually a film, Lethal Weapon 3, Stop or My Mum Will Shoot, that classic. And games that came out the year were Kirby, Echo the Dolphin, Krusty Clown's Funhouse, Zool. Bet no one actually remembers who Zool is or was. Not many people do. George Foreman's KO Boxing, Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing, and the original Mortal Kombat, and the cousin of this game, Art of Fighting. And this game, of course, Fatal Fury 2, Terry's Revenge. So during the creation of Art of Fighting and seeing how successful Fatal Fury 1 was, midway through the development of Art of Fighting, SNK wanted to capitalize on the current success of fighting games in the arcade and home console, so they gave the green light for the go-ahead for Fatal Fury 2. But this time, Takashi Mishima will not be a director but only a producer on the game. But other notable people would return, like Takashi Samoto as director and Ikakai Kawaki, sorry for butchering the name, as producer. So the art style would pretty much stay the same. Fatal Fury 2, The Return of Andy Bogart, was developed to be played on the new 100 mega stack, which gave the game better graphics and smoother gameplay compared to Fatal Fury 1. Fatal Fury 2 was the first game to run on SNK's new 100 mega stack cartridge. There are a few new characters and a few return characters we will talk about, like now. Plot. Geese Howard has died at the hands of the Hungry Wolf. Terry Bogart, after being kicked off Howard Tower on the 30th of August 1992, Southtown seems to have had a year of peace. Well, slightly less crime in Southtown, as Southtown's a crap hole. But hey, now Terry is the undefeated champ of the King of Fighters. During the next year, 1993, a mysterious jacked to the gills nobleman from Germany became the sponsor of the new King of Fighters tournament, which is strange because Geese was the one who was organising the tournament, so this is rather strange. But this time the rules have completely changed. Instead of being fought on the mean streets of Southtown, it has become an international affair, which opens the competition up to new fighters and some returning characters too. Some of the returning characters are Joe, the Japanese Muay Thai kickboxing champion who befriended the Bogart brothers before the first Fatal Fury game. Andy, ninjutsu practitioner and the loser younger brother of the Hungry Wolf, the undefeated KOF champion, Terry Bogart. The American street fighter from Southtown, and has basically become the main character and the greatest man to ever lived, in my opinion. Well, greatest man in video games anyway. And we have several new fighters, like Mai Shiburi, the heiress of the Shinuri ninja clan and granddaughter of Hanzo Shiburi, who is believed to be a big name in the ninja world in Japan, who knows. Mai met Andy while traveling with her grandfather. Mai is a very cheerful but temperamented lady. She has pyrokinetic powers and most of her moves are fire based. Over the years, Mai has become an icon because of her future costumes, which are quite revealing, and a lot of people have got weird tattoos of her. It's weird, not want to get into that. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Mai was originally meant to be a male ninja, but developers decided to shift her over to being a woman, as there was literally no women on this roster. So, hey, great on Mai. And next we got Chong Shiburi. Chang is a wealthy businessman who is friends with many millionaires and common people alike. Whatever that means, I guess he's friends with poor and rich people. He's a real rags to riches story, as he's worked his way up from poverty due to his strong will. Chang is actually a former member of Master Tang's from the previous fighting game. He trained alongside both Jeff Bogart, Andy and Terry's adopted father, and the blonde bombshell Geese Howard, the bad guy from the last game. Everyone knows Geese. They were known as the Three Brothers of Godly Battles until once found out Chung was taking part in rigged bets and illegal fights. Chung is a happy-go-lucky guy who loves the fancier things in life. He's generous, open-hearted to his friends, but greedy when it comes to food and money. And the ladies. Chung can channel chi from the earth and use it, an unorthodox version of Tai Chi. Next we have Jubei Yamada. Jubei was once a fierce judo warrior when he was younger and had the nickname the Demon, but that was a long time ago. Now he is a giddy, pervy old man who refuses to sit around and waste his golden years. He wants to be back where the action is. He is also connected to both Andy and Mai, as he trained them both in Kempo Ken. One of Jubei's special powers is that he could throw anyone or anything. He cannot do any projectile attacks, so he throws Japanese firecrackers instead. And next we have Kim Kope 1. Kim is the reigning Taekwondo world champion and got invited to the tournament from a mystery benefactor. Kim strives to exceed and righteousness in everything he does, be it fighting or his personal life. He is a loving father and husband. He is one of his powers is to sense evil in people, whatever that means. So he has like a sixth sense for evil, so it'll be a seventh sense. Not too sure. After this game, he becomes good friends with Terry Bogart. And last of the playable characters, we have Big Bear. So, do you remember Raiden from the last Fatal Fury? The second worst character in the game, in my personal opinion. Well, after Geese's death, Raiden decided he didn't want to be a bad guy anymore. So he became Big Bear, which is his baby face wrestling persona. So he took off the mask and then he became friends with the original trio from the game. So yeah, works out for him, I guess. His fighting style was still the same, but his moves are more babyface-like, well, good guy-like, so he doesn't spit the green mist at you. Instead, he spits fire at you, which is technically worse because, you know, that's a third-degree burns, but hey, I don't know. Good guy things, isn't it? Wrestling, confusing. But while you're traveling the world fighting all these different characters, the game is intercut with sort of cutscenes where you see fighters from the previous tournament who are not in this game lying on the floor knocked out with a shadowy body in the background. You're like, I wonder what this is. This is quite interesting. So once you beat the playable characters, you got to fight 3 sub-bosses just like in Fatal Fury 1. And there's with one sub-boss returning. And you could tell by the tone of my voice, it is Billy Bloody Kane. So this arsehole is back. After Geese's death, Billy goes back to England with his sister. But to maintain the lifestyle that his sister has come acquired to, he goes back into life and crime and joins our mysterious benefactor of this tournament. But does Billy have alternative motives? Who knows? Is he still loyal to the dead geese? Question. Then you got Axel Hawk. Axel is a former heavyweight boxing champion. He has retired from boxing but keeps it up to stay healthy, which leaves the mysterious benefactor to court him for his services, which he agrees to and becomes one of his defenders, aka bodyguard. Axel is a proud man and thinks highly of himself. And will never pull a punch for anyone except for his mother, because he's a mother's boy. Axel has the power to channel wind into his punches, so he makes like tornado punch moves. That makes sense. He's based on legendary boxer George Foreman. And like all other boxers in fighting games, he doesn't kick, so all his buttons are just punches with different variations of punches. And the last sub-boss is Lawrence Blood. Lawrence Blood is a world-renowned bullfighter, easily capable of gracefully dodging the charging bulls and kill them with one strike of his sword. Lawrence's family has a long connection to the current benefactor of the King of Fighters tournament, and he is extremely loyal to him. He doesn't like women or children. His fighting style is similar to fencing and a French martial art called savate. He has the power to spin and make air currents break around him. So you beat all the sub-bosses. You were then invited to a castle to meet the secret benefactor of the KOF tournament, Wolfgang Krauser. So where do I begin with Wolfgang Krauser? Besides him having an awesome name, Wolfgang, well, I'll be referred to now as Krauser, is the Earl of Storum. I probably butchered that because I don't know how to speak German properly. He is also the younger brother of the blonde bomber himself, Geese Howard. Geese and Krauser share the same father. Geese's father Rudolph met Eliza Stroheim, Wolfgang's mother, after winning a martial art tournament. They fell in love and had a baby. Eliza asked for her grandfather's approval of their wedding due to he accepted the marriage so the family could have an heir, a male heir. Because of this, Rudolph had to reject his other wife Maria and son Geese back in America. When Krauser was 9 years old, a boy tried to kill his father. This boy was the almighty Geese Howard, who blamed Rudolph for leaving his mother to die from her illness. Surprisingly, Krauser defeated Geese, and they would have killed him if Rudolph didn't step in. Since this day, Geese has always been scared of his younger brother, Krauser. When Krauser got older, his grandfather died, and Rudolph became the head of the family. Not too long after this, his mother found out that Rudolph was still in love with his wife back in America. This led to her drinking her sorrows away and dying. On his 16th birthday, Krauser challenged his father to a duel on the day of his mother's funeral. As you do. Everyone thought Rudolph was going to win, but Krauser killed his father with one blow. This made him the undisputed and strongest heir of the Stroheim family, ruling the Stroheim castle. Sometimes after those events, he fought Jeff Bogard and Mai's grandfather Hanzo. The two fighters were able to strike Krauser on the forehead, which left a scar that has never fully healed. Many years later, after building his crime empire, he started to hear rumblings about Southtown. Knowing that's where his brother was from, he sent a letter to Geese to challenge him to a fight, but never received an answer as Geese was kicked off the building by Terry Bogard, our boy. Learning this, Wolfgang wanted to meet the man who killed his brother and decided to revive the King of Fighters tournament. This is where we found out that Krauser has been attacking the previous fighters just for fun. Each character has their own ending in this game, but none of them are canon, except for Terry's technically, as the game ends with Terry defeating Krauser, and after the fight, Krauser isn't seen ever again in the fight scenes. But according to a short movie called The Memoirs of a Stray Wolf, Krauser supposedly took his own life shortly after KOF 2, and that's pretty dark. Very dark if you ask me. Now let's talk about features. Gameplay. Fatal Fury 2 has a 4-button layout. In Fatal Fury 1, you had a 3-button layout. Instead of having one button solely dedicated to punch, one button solely dedicated to kick, and one button to throw, you now have 2 different types of punches and kicks. You have a quick punch, a heavy punch, a quick kick, and a heavy kick. Now, if you want to throw an opponent, you have to press heavy punch with the forward direction button to do the throw. You still control your character with either the analog stick or the direction pad. You can still jump between the stage, so you can jump on the front part of the stage and the background of the stage on certain stages. But to do this, you have to press heavy punch and heavy kick together. A new gameplay feature has been added to this game, and that's called desperation moves. Each character has their own unique desperation move, which can be performed when a character's life bar is below 20%. Me being kind of lame at this game, I haven't actually pulled off a desperation move as of recording, but after researching on the desperation moves, they are basically super moves like in Street Fighter. Special meter, you could perform like a super Hadouken. Terry's desperation move is Almighty Power Geyser, which is like probably one of the best moves ever, where he punches the ground and a big geyser of energy comes up and hits you. It looks pretty dope, but I still think this might be because I'm playing on a Switch. And personally, the Joy-Cons are not the best thing for old school fighting games, as they're not really responsive, which I said in my last video. Each character has their own unique moves, like in a previous game, but some of the older characters like Terry, Andy and Joe have had some new moves added to their arsenal. Just like Fatal Fury 1, the difficulty curve is still there, and it takes a while for you to actually get good at this game. I'm still trying. Graphics and music. The graphics have improved a lot since Fatal Fury 1 due to this game running on the 100 meg stack cartridge, which is a much powerful cartridge and allows the sprites to look more clearer and smoother. Even the special moves look more detailed compared to Fatal Fury 1. The stage design in this game is amazing. All the stages stand out and have their own unique feel to them. One of the stages that stood out to me the most was Terry's stage, where you're on a moving train and the background actually moves and looks pretty cool. It's amazing for a game on a 16-bit console at the time. Joe's stage changed from night to day from each round, and the sound has improved big time as well. The music chose for each stage matches it. They all have like a unique feel to it. So if you're fighting an American stage like Terry's one, it's got American rocky kind of sound of music to go with it. And when you're on Joe's stage, you're fighting in a village. It has a village-like sound to it, which is pretty good. I like it. Another cool feature in this game is Krauser actually talks. It's amazing. So just before you fight him, he says, "I will chisel your grave, sleep well." Who says that? That is amazing. And when you beat him, he says, "You were good, you fought well," which is so random. I don't know who says that. When you beat him in the last fight, he dramatically screams, "You were perfect, I met my match." And this is like the best thing ever in my opinion. Might make Krauser a bit more epic than Geese, but we're not going to go that far. And also the theme for these stages, that classic song, which I don't actually know the name for, but it goes dun 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 dun. So that's epic. But they had to change a lot of these features for the consoles versions as they was not as powerful as the arcade. So the graphics had to be toned down slightly and the character sprites did not look as good and the music was a bit off compared to its arcade counterpart, but passable. Now let's see what people thought about this game back in 1992. Reviews from 1992 and 1993. So from all the reviews I could dig up on this game, a lot of reviews seem to speak very highly of both the arcade and home editions of Fatal Fury 2. Most complimenting the smooth gameplay, amazing detailed sprites, and the amazing sound. Some magazines and reviews praise Fatal Fury over Street Fighter 2 because of its breathtaking backgrounds. On average, you got 7 out of 10, and a lot of reviewers were upset that Fatal Fury was getting outshined by Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. But some people did complain about Fatal Fury and its difficulty. Unlike in Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, the difficulty spike doesn't kick in right away. It takes you to climb the ladders of opponents for it to get harder. But in Fatal Fury 2, the first person would just kick your ass and you would just be like, "Oh wow, great. Got to put more quarters in for that." Or 50p if you're in England. No, wait. If you're in England back then, it would have been 25p, I think. Can't remember. I was like nearly 30 years ago. And my thoughts and review. I really like Fatal Fury 2. The graphics, like I've said many times before in this review, are amazing and very good for a 16-bit game, mind you, from 1992. The music is super catchy and a huge improvement from Fatal Fury 1. Well, like I said in Fatal Fury 1, I couldn't really remember any of the stage songs, but in this one, they all stood out and I was like, oh, I like the feel of that. That's good. And even the stages had weird little perks to them. For example, on my stage, they have these poles that she could use to jump off and do attacks from. You can't do it if you're someone else, but Mai can, which is pretty cool. And when you're fighting Axel Hawk, you're actually fighting in a boxing ring, and it looks pretty cool because it's like you're in a big stadium in the background, so it looks that's pretty cool if you ask me. It's amazing. And Terry Stage, like I said before, you're on a moving train, and I'm pretty sure the train goes past Mount Rushmore, which is insane. And that's something I've never seen before from a game, and that's something I've never seen before from a fighting game that came out in 1992. And I really like the added sound effects. Like hearing Krauser speak blew my mind away. I was like, oh snap, they actually do this. This is hilarious. You don't see this in Street Fighter. And it adds to the character of Krauser being a super badass. He's the best. I'm going to stop gushing over him. And in this game, the sub-bosses weren't as hard as they were in Fatal Fury 1. SMK must have heard everyone's complaint about Billy Goddamn Kane and the nightmare known as Geese, who just took credit after credit for you to beat, even forcing people to rage quit, like me. But in this game, like, obviously, Krauser is the end boss, and he's super hard. So it would be kind of dumb if you went up to the super boss and it was easy, because then you get people complaining. Some things I didn't like about Fatal Fury 2, and once again, it's the difficulty curve. Like I've said in my last video, I'm quite well versed in fighting games. I've been playing them since I'm a kid, and I'm pretty sure that I've got older. I haven't got worse at them. I've got better. But this game, it may be because I'm too used to the newer games, or what, I don't know. It's just a lot harder. I could blame it on the Nintendo Switch and the Joy-Cons, but that's here or there. So I might actually try and play one of them on the Xbox One or the PS4, as they've got better responsive control in my opinion. And I did find it hard to pull off some of the moves, some of the special moves, but again, I'll blame it on the Joy-Con. Also, sometimes the damage ratio to me felt a bit off. For example, I've hit someone with a heavy kick and it takes a little bit of life, but then the computer's hit me with a heavy kick and it's took double of that life. I know some characters have lower defense and some have higher, but to me it felt a bit unbalanced. Or I'm just a sore loser, but I'm going with the unbalanced. Another thing I didn't like is the character endings were pretty lame. They were literally just a picture with the character and it had something random like, "Ha, brother, we did it again," or something like that. And it didn't really stand out like Street Fighter, who actually have endings, even though they're like pretty crappy, but they were endings. But Fatal Fury 2 just seems like the ending was an afterthought. So hopefully that's changed in the next game. But overall, I highly recommend Fatal Fury 2. I liked it a lot better than Fatal Fury 1, and you can pick up for dirt cheap. And if you're a fighting game collector, you should do it. You can get it on the PSN store for £5.79. You can get it on the Xbox for £6.39. And you can buy it on the Nintendo Switch on the eStore for £6.29. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like I said before, I'm going to try and get more regular on these. So hopefully twice a month, if not more. But we'll have other videos out as well. Also, if you've got time, check out my podcast, my friend. We talk about video games there too. And I will see you guys next time. Next video, we'll be traveling back in time to Old South Town before the Bogart brothers' father died, I guess. Not too sure about that. Timeline's a bit messy. For Art of Fighting 2, which should be in the past. Who knows? So I'll catch you guys next time in South Town, or I will chisel your grave. See, call back to the Krauser thing. Ha ha ha. I'm funny. Bye.